15.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Trust me, I get it. I'm about to put on headphones so we're not causing any echo.
Gotcha.
Oh, boy.
Love the SMBs too, man.
Oh, they are a beautiful thing, my friend.
I
There's nothing
am.
quite like hopping into a meeting with a Corona.
It's a post after hours meeting. So plus,
All right. Well, since we only have a short amount of time, I see there's already 3 people that are kind of hopping in here. So
all right,
the
cool.
entire purpose of why I wanted to go live today is probably at least 15 billion times a week. I get a question that's, Jan, what exactly is it that you do? Right. So I figured I'd hop on here and try to give people a little bit of an idea of some of the things that I'm involved in. Because recently I just put out a kind of a call to action as far as like our Patreon campaign and said that the first 50 people that donate to our Patreon that would like a sticker, a die-cast sticker of the Apex, and then also the potential of getting a 10% off coupon for some stuff. I figured I'd try to explain a little bit outside of just asking people for dollars, right? So I'm happy that you have a little bit of time to come on because we actually met in kind of this weird journey that I've been on through podcasting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell people a little bit about how we first interacted and what we've been able to kind of start doing?
Oh man. So I'm a reporter. I'm a news guy. I work for a company in Mansfield, Ohio called Richland Source, and I run several podcasts for Richland Source.
Out of a phenomenal studio, by the way. That studio is baller.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm very lucky. It makes me sound significantly better than I think the podcast actually is. So that's awesome. So I think I was just sort of, messing around online, looking up like how to make my podcast better, how to get a better outreach. And I came across Podcast Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached out to you, and then we started, emailing back and forth, I think. And then I think at some point there was a friendship commit that was created. And then
I remember going to lunch that very first day, and that I actually drove out to Richland Source, and we did some episodes together, right? And I remember going to Athens. What is
Athens.
Is it Athens restaurant?
It just got named to Athena. Some weird family.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I was like, I thought that I had heard that was what it was doing, but regardless, we went to this lunch, right? And to give people an idea of what I do and why I'm so involved in this space is we sat down and I essentially was like, okay, here are all of the things that you could potentially be doing to increase the reach of what you're doing, the different types of content. Here's some software platforms. Here's all of this stuff. And I've been giving away that stuff for free for a long time. And I really firmly believe that it's because that type of information, what we were trying to do with Podcast Ohio was create a community of people that are podcasters inside of the state that are really trying to provide outreach to each other and actually reach out. Falling a little bit behind the curve right now, just with all the shenanigans going on. But one thing I did want to bring up is just recently you called me and kind of ran into an issue.
Yeah.
Because everybody's self-quarantined. Why don't we explain how that phone call went?
Well, I mean, again, I was just trying to figure out what to do with the podcast, and I called you because you seemingly know everything there is to know about stuff before I do. And you talked to me about Squadcast, which I've used twice now, and it's worked really well, actually. I'm pretty happy with it, and it's not super expensive, and you get to like choose your payment plan and payment options, so it's actually worked out really, really well.
Oh yeah, Squadcast is definitely one of those platforms that is super, super useful for podcasters in general. Actually, I mean, I think just people that are doing stuff remote, because what it does differently than like Zoom or even StreamYard that we're using right now is it locally records the audio files on the individual people's computers and really gives you like that next professional level.
What I've also really enjoyed about it is that it takes the individual sounds. So it would be recording my sound and your sound and mixing it together, which is really helpful because I don't think we've yet come up with a way for streaming to be absolutely perfect where there's no lagging. But as long as the person is talking, the lag goes away, and the sort of digitization that can sometimes break up a sound or a word is still recorded perfectly, because it's recording what I'm saying, and then it records what you're saying, and then it mixes it all together.
Right. I'm actually going to be doing an interview with one of the co-founders of Squadcast next week.
Nice.
To specifically talk about what they have coming up in version 3, and they, coming up with some of the video recording capabilities that they're planning on implementing. But like you said, that lag and having the ability to record without worrying about it is super, super important for anybody that's involved in professional audio.
Yeah, well, it really just sort of makes it sound like you're not working at home. I mean, I don't have a special SMB in front of me. I'm talking through my computer mic, and when I listen to it again, it still sounds good.
Did you see the feature that I just discovered this? And I mean, I've been using Squadcast for months now, and I didn't realize that there's this magic button at the bottom that you can check mark the different audio files that were recorded on each individual computer and click mix now.
Yeah,
and it automatically mixes them directly into like one feed. I didn't realize that feature existed. Like we were downloading the raw wave files and optimizing them in Logic, which is still probably the best way to do it for highest quality. But
right,
I was like, this is so simple. Like I click one button and it automatically doesn't have people talking over each other. It kind of minuses it for you, which is a fancy word for not letting people talk over each other. And it's super useful.
Yeah, it's awesome. I had it immediately, but yeah.
Well, look, you beat me on discovering a feature and doing some research and stuff.
Excellent.
We'll chalk that up as a W. Hey, so everybody that's listening, just so you know, this is Noah Jones. He's over at Richland Source in Mansfield, Ohio. We've been involved, and he's helped write articles for us. I've definitely helped some of the podcasting stuff over there, but they have some phenomenal shows. If Chalk Murder to Me is still going.
It is. Correct? Yeah, we just started season 2. We've got 2 episodes out for season 2 right now.
That is my favorite one by far. I love Chalk Murder to Me. It probably kind of fits into my whole serial killer kind of creepy side, because I also love listening to Ohio 88, which is hosted by Heather Wright.
Yeah, they're really good too. What if you don't mind me just sort of talking about it quickly? What I love about these true crime podcasts is that you get very enveloped, and it's very easy to tell that the storytellers of the podcasts are really into the stories. But what I think gives us some differences is that we're talking about local only. So it's focusing on like North Central Ohio, but it's every once in a while, like we did one, episode 1 was with someone in Cincinnati, but we're talking with experts, oftentimes law enforcement people who are working the cases.
Right.
So it's super cool to get to like have the first person perspective, and not just like someone drinking beer, reading about what they read about, or talking about what they read about in a newspaper or a news clipping.
Right. Which is exactly what we've been really going for all of our COVID-19 data, and like that partnership that we formed with Distributed Bio and everything else is just, how do we bypass stuff, people just reposting articles and starting the rumor mill, and go directly to the source. Especially as a small startup communications company, that's been kind of difficult to navigate, but it's been good. So, well, what time? I don't want to hold you over to when you're meeting, that you're going to be hanging out with your Corona, but
yeah, it's about started. So thanks for the invite. I'll talk with you soon, I think.
All righty, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.
No problem.
Bye.
All righty, guys. So that again was Mr. Noah Jones out at Richland Source in Mansfield, Ohio. I will go ahead and post the link to their stuff in the comments, so you guys can go check them out if you like. They're actually really cool. They're a 100% all online digital news media source out in Mansfield, but I will make sure that I post their podcasting. Oh, let me try to find it here. Try to post their website so that you can check it out. Here we go. richlandsource.com. Boop. All righty, guys. So, like I said in the messages just now, I just started a watch party here on Facebook. If you want to join into the stream and come and hang out, feel free to shoot me a message and we can get you up on the screen so that everybody can say hello. There we go. There is the link for Richland Source posted. Should be posting onto the personal Facebook as well. All right. So back to a little bit about what Apex does. So a lot of people have been asking, where did we come from? What do you do exactly? We see you with a microphone. We see you constantly putting out content or live streaming with people. Why did Apex happen? All right. And so what a lot of people don't know is that Apex actually started as a blog back in the day, hosted out of my college apartment while I was still at school at Walsh University here in Canton. And it started out as an outreach directly to high school students that we, in 2017, experienced a really high influx of suicides in Stark County, namely, especially at a specific local high school. For those of you that are from the area, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it actually we started blogging just as a way to reach out to those kids. Okay. So what ended up happening is I met Jacob Popio in Italy. Ironically, we were on tour. I wouldn't say I met him, but I got to know him better. And we decided that we were going to start a podcast. So the Apex podcast, the first episode that we ever recorded was with Dean Kaler, who is actually a paraplegic. He was shot through the spine at Kent State by the National Guard. So our first interview was with him, and post that interview, I remember me and Jacob were in the truck driving away from that interview, and we hooked the laptop up to the truck speakers, and heard our voices over the speakers for the first time. It was super, super weird, to be completely honest. It was a very odd feeling. Since then, we realized that what we actually we're having a lot of fun with, and what we were, the biggest thing that we realized we could provide people value on was not necessarily just podcasting, but branding in general, and really getting people's messages out there. We've become kind of, I say we have our street degrees in communication when it comes to especially organic content, putting out, whether it's video, it's audio, it's anything else. We have a knack for it. But all of it kind of goes back to that original mission with those kids. So if you'll notice, with every single the Apex podcast interview, I start off almost every single show asking the guest where they were born and raised and what high school is like for them. And I do that on purpose because I want them to talk about times in their past, especially in high school or college, that they've had to change paths, or that they've thought that they weren't going to make it, or they've encountered a pothole that they didn't think that they were going to get through. And that statement, that story, that part of that person's story always goes back to try to reach out to that original population that I had a heart for. And I've been surprised every single time I interview a guest that it's regardless of ethnicity, regardless of socioeconomic background, regardless of geographical location, almost every single one of them has felt a period in their life where they were super unsteady, they were super unsure, they weren't really sure where to go next, or they have been in dark of a place as, not wanting to be on this planet. As the show started to grow, we morphed that tagline into the ordinary people accomplishing extraordinary things. And that's really where we've settled, at least with the Apex podcast. Once that show started getting a little bit of traction, for reference, I think we started out, we always tell people we started out with 3 listeners, 2 of which were me and Jacob. Last month we had almost 3,000. So shout out to you guys. We really appreciate your support. We realized that there were other people that had messages that needed to get out. So the first experiment with that is the Working Class Hump. We have Mr. John Dietz on there hosting that show. It is an amazing show. If you guys get the chance to listen to it, here, I'll go ahead and post the link on the Facebook right now. because this show, John has been able to interview some crazy guests. I'm talking like Laura Farber from the Rose Bowl. She's the first Latina president of the Rose Bowl. He has interviewed Jim Tressel. He's interviewed a gentleman named Russell Branham, who's the head of public relations for Talladega Speedway. And it's been absolutely amazing watching him work and doing what he does, as he says, as a way to reach out to people. It has been absolutely a privilege. Oops, speaking of which. Okay. So I'm posting that link to his show to Facebook right now. So you guys can check it out if you like. There we go. All right. Okay. Hey, Adam. See that you liked that comment there. If any of you guys do want to join the stream, go ahead and shoot me a message. So that show with John has since grown and is now getting to the point where we're going to want to live stream. We're going to want to do some other stuff with him. So you may be seeing his face a little bit quicker and a little in a new context coming up here soon. Now that all the COVID stuff has hit, obviously we've had to try to pivot a little bit, right? Lately, we've been really trying to do outreach. We've been trying to get other people from the community to come on the show. I'm trying to network a couple of different relationships to bring positive data and to bring good outreach stuff out onto the Apex platform, while also providing value to local small businesses. So resources that small businesses can plug into, counseling that they can go and find free mentorship with. We've been trying to partner with the local branch of Canton SCORE because their chairman, Brennan Wilson, is a phenomenal human and is willing to provide a lot of that free data and free output to local businesses. That's our number one priority, is trying to figure out how to help these businesses rebuild, which is why I put out that call to action for the Patreon campaign today. Because basically I want to be able to provide a lot of these services for free. And I've been kind of busting it the last couple of weeks, really trying to come up with different systems and different ways that people can try to rebuild. But for the next 3 months, we're going to be donating 50% of that Patreon campaign directly back to our friends over at Distributed Bio and Centevax to try to help their crowdfund the cure campaign. So what they're trying to do is essentially get donations from around the world. They've already gotten donations from 35 different countries and across all 50 states. And what they're trying to really do is garner those donations and use them to further their research into the COVID antibodies and vaccines. So that's kind of our main mission right now, is we're going to take 50% of the Patreon donations and dump them directly into Centevax. The other half of those donations are going to strictly be utilized to try to offset the cost of helping local businesses promote themselves, whether that's hopping on a live stream and pushing out their content that way, or it's helping them learn to navigate different software systems for digital media, doing all of that kind of stuff, and basically have it funded by the community. So we're really trying to showcase that we're capable of taking care of people in our own backyards. And that's our whole mission behind this Patreon push. Now, I see that there's, 7, 8, 9 people that keep popping in and out of here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them or say hello in the comments. I'm just going to basically keep rambling and doing work until somebody decides that they want to hop on the stream with me. So don't leave me hanging for too long. I guess another important piece to bring up as far as Apex goes is that we're not just podcasting, right? There's a lot of people that assume that we just do podcasting, but in reality, there's a lot more involved with that, right? So what we really found is that people weren't so concerned about podcasting specifically. They were more concerned about how they can get their message out to the world. And that's really what we kind of specialize in, is figuring out how to help people develop systems inside of their companies that they can plug their content into and then push that out into the world, right? So like, for example, this live stream. So one thing that you can do is, if you have a live stream like this, you can stream it out to the different platforms. What's nice about a platform like this called StreamYard, you can actually take that live video and repurpose it into either a video that permanently stays on that channel, or you can take the audio, repurpose that, turn it into audio clips, push that out on different platforms. You can take the transcription from the live stream, turn that into blog posts using other platforms like Otter. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do, right? But what it comes down to is, what do you actually want to accomplish? I would say, who do you want to be when you grow up, right? What is your end goal? What brand do you want to have? Where do you want to end up? And then what types of content are you already producing? Because that's the biggest thing, guys. Like, there's so much content already being produced that people aren't optimizing, and then they're getting frustrated because the content isn't performing correctly. But if I were to take, a hour-long YouTube video and try to post a full hour worth of video content that has nothing to do with business or optimizing, Apex, it's just me talking about a squirrel. I don't know why I chose that example, but if I were to post that on LinkedIn, it probably wouldn't do well because that's a more professional platform, right? But if I were to have a video of me pretending to talk to a squirrel and then cut that into a 60-second clip and put it on TikTok, it'd probably do a lot better. So it's very small, like, ideas like that are really kind of helping people navigate this digital landscape. And it's what we've been focused on learning over the last 2.5 years of building this all up, is how can we take the work that we're already doing, because we're really only 3 people. How do we take the work we're already doing and make it work for us? And that's basically where we've ended up now, is we have some systems in place where I know I can log in. I have different types of platforms that are connected together, whether that's through automation, through something like Zapier, or it's physical input and human input. Either way, we were able to, like, quintuple, in some cases 10x our content output, just by paying attention to what types of content go where and how we get there. That's why you've seen so much more content coming from us lately, because we've really started to kind of take a dose of our own medicine and tap into those systems. So it's been a blessing almost being on quarantine like this right now, because it's allowed me the ability to kind of go back to our roots and do some more research and understand a little bit more about what we do and how we do it. And it's been good. It's been good for me. RJ, I see you're hanging out with us. Too bad your house is dirty, as you always say. Or you could hop on the video stream and interact with the humans. Let's see here. Stay on this page. All right, guys. I'm going to focus on doing some work on some Centevax stuff here. If you have any questions for me, shoot them in the comments. And I should be able to see them, I'm assuming. Subsidiary. There we go. All righty. Oh, there's still 7 people. I'm not even talking. Look at that. It's kind of creepy being able to see that number and watching how many people are actually watching and none of them ever say hello. It's very odd. I always found that weird. We've done live streams where you have like 40 or 50 people in there. Nobody says that they're there, so you never know who's actually creeping on you. It's a very odd feeling. All right. Well, actually, I'm going to take this time to kind of explain a little bit about how this whole distributed bio relationship came about. So back in January, I watched the Netflix documentary Pandemic, which is a phenomenal documentary, by the way. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go and watch it. It's actually eerily, it's just creepy. It's creepy how correct it was as far as predicting the current state of the union that we're in right now. But I watched it and I decided that I was going to reach out to Distributed Bio's public relations firm, just because I was like, you know what, I have nothing better to do right now, really. I might as well reach out and see what they're doing. So I reached out. I didn't get an answer for weeks, assumed that they weren't going to reach back. And then about a week after I kind of gave up hope, I got an email from Lila Klempen, who is their executive assistant. They wanted to schedule an interview with Jake and Sarah Ives. We did that interview. It went super well. Hashtag thank you Squadcast. And the rest is history, I'm assuming. You know, they enjoyed the process extremely well. I offered to start interviewing some of their other team members. So we interviewed Salson Youssef. We interviewed Aishani Athresh. We interviewed Sharad Dariekia. And now we have another one of their guests who you can find out who we interviewed. If you donate to the Patreon, we're going to start giving away our future guest list on there. If you donate to the Patreon. So you'll be able to find out who we're interviewing actually before anybody else does and before the episode is even recorded. So if you want to have the ability to ask guests questions, especially like if you're interested in a specific job field or anything else like that, it would behoove you to be on the backside of Patreon, because you'll be able to find out who the guests are before we even interview them. So you'll be able to ask questions and submit questions that we can ask the guest on the show. You know, whether or not your question gets asked every single time, may be up for debate, but you'll at least get the chance to submit it. And if enough people ask the same question, it'll definitely make it onto the show with the guest. April. Now I know that you're there watching. Man, I haven't talked to you in forever. For reference, this is geez, what was it, like Homeschool Band? That was a long time ago. I don't think I've seen you since Homeschool Band. That's okay. That's another interesting fact. For those of you that don't know, I was homeschooled for a while. Uh-oh. Is that Michael Pettit?
What's going on?
Not a whole lot, buddy. What is that, an ice cream cone?
Yeah, I was told that I could come and join this while I was out for a drive, and I was already on my way to go get an ice cream cone. And
I'm not condoning you driving and streaming at the same time.
I'm parked.
Okay.
I'm parked.
Okay.
I pulled it. Yeah, because I'm gonna drive with no hands, just go down the road.
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, that's not safe at all. I can't condone that. Did you get a haircut?
No.
It's because
it is because the way that my hair has grown, it's pretty much almost a mullet now.
Oh yeah, Homeschool Band, long time ago.
Yeah, it's pretty long, but I was looking at that and I got a solution.
The hat.
So we're good.
God bless.
Oh yeah, got to go with the hat.
All right, buddy. Hey, so we're having a couple of conversations. I talked to a gentleman named Noah Jones from out in Mansfield about Podcast Ohio and some other things that Apex has done to help him out. Now, you've kind of experienced Apex, because this is what this whole live stream is about, is really just kind of educating people on what the hell actually happens here. Because I get asked all the time, what do you do when you're not at the hospital? And I'm like, well, I'm involved in some shenanigans, but you know, we'll kind of give a different idea. So you've been able to experience both Apex as a inception idea and a crazy thing that I kind of came up with, but then also got directly impacted in your career, because as I was learning principles from Apex, I kind of passed on some of those things to you, just whether it was in advice or like phone calls. I remember how long have you been at GC now? Like a little over a year?
Oh, over a year. It was November, December, January, March, April. A year, almost 6 months now.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago. I mean, actually, this is probably closer to 2 years ago now. Apex was just starting out, but we decided that we were going to do an experiment, and I was going to treat you like a consulting client, right? And so every week, I think for probably 6 months or something like that, we would have a conversation on the phone, and it wasn't so much, our normal bullshitting and telling funny stories. It was me purposely trying to give you advice, and I basically told you were my guinea pig, right? I was trying to figure out if the principles that I was trying to enact with Apex could actually benefit somebody's career as they were growing. So now you can, I know that we're live and this is kind of random. I just sent you this message, 15 minutes ago for you to hop on here. But
yes.
No filter, no whatever. Did you find that advice valuable or did you not?
I did. So pretty much during that time, it was more of a kind of a downward spiral a little bit for me at that time too. So it kind of came in at a good time. And from that point, it kind of brought me into a position to where I can take it step by step, follow a little plan, which was at one point get a better job. Kind of, which I mean, I did get a better job, and then it slowly went into what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish right now? And a few of those was lose a little bit of weight, get healthier, which I kind of lost track of again due to my own fault. But
holding the ice cream cone.
Holding the ice cream cone. But I mean, it's quarantine. It's allowed. It really did help in a step-by-step process, just from the advice that you have received through the Apex, and also just giving it to me. As kind of a guinea pig, it really worked out well.
So let's dive into that a little bit. So some of the first things that I told you to do, right, were to basically self-identify where you wanted to end up, right? And you knew that you weren't happy at your previous job because you worked security, and you wanted to try to do something that was going to set you up for the long run. So you ended up getting this job at, we'll just say GC, right?
Yes.
So you got this job at GC, and you actually started at, well, why don't you tell people what position you started out in?
Well, so I went from a armed security guard to delivery driver. And it was kind of, it kind of fell in my lap. Met the guy at a football game, talked a little bit, and he offered me an interview, went in, and I was actually told that I was going to be making a few dollars less an hour than what I would have been already making in the security position.
Now, so that part is important, right? Because pretty much everybody in your life at that point was telling you to not make the move, right?
Yes, because I was already struggling financially, and they were saying, no, it'll be dumb. You're going to be a delivery driver. You're going to be making less money, and it's just not going to work out for you. But after talking to you for a while, it kind of got to the point of, yeah, but you have the opportunity to grow. So
right.
It's like an investment. Put a little money into it, a little bit of setup into it. You'll get your put out in the end. And it did. After about 8 months of working there as a delivery driver, he hired me as a customer service representative and got a desk. Started making more money than what I was over in security. And I got hands-on experience in the business world without having a degree.
Right.
And it really worked out for me in the end.
Yeah, and so and some of those transition steps, right? I mean, there was a couple of frustrating times as the delivery driver, but what I kind of said, and this is something that I really kind of hold true regardless of where you're at, is no matter what position you're in, right, is that if you're able to prove that you can have work ethic even as a delivery driver and showcase that you're actively making moves to try to enhance the company, no matter what level you're at, you're going to get noticed and you could potentially be pushed up, right? It may not happen right away. There may be other people promoted ahead of you that you think shouldn't be promoted. There's other things that happen, but if you make your mission to be a baller, like I always say, to be a baller for the next 24 hours and then attack the next day when the next day gets there, you can really kind of start to structure things out in a way that will get you to a place that you actually want to go. But sometimes it's taking, like you said, that pay cut. I'm glad that you phrased it that way, because that's exactly how I remember the conversation going, is that don't look at it as a pay cut, look at it as an investment.
Yep. And that was the key factor in me being like, okay, I can make that jump, because if typically when you make an investment in a good economy like it was at the time, you're gonna get your money back. You're gonna get your worth out of it. So if I busted my butt and just got the job done, it would pay out for me in the long run, which it did. I mean, there was a period where I was incredibly sick, couldn't really walk much, couldn't do anything, and it wasn't contagious or anything. It was just more of like we don't really know what happened, but it was a weird mess. That's another story. But I still showed up to work when I could, and during that time, I looked like a ghost. I was losing weight rapidly. I would go take naps in my car because I couldn't sleep, like on my lunch break.
Yep.
And when that 30 minutes was up, my alarm would go off. I'd clock back in, go put the boxes in the car, and go. And, he loved that. And then what he really loved is I had gotten into a car accident literally a few weeks after that and showed up to work as a delivery driver with a cane. And he said, I don't know how I feel about a delivery driver walking around with boxes to my customers with a cane. And I'm like, I mean, I can still do it.
Right.
And he did. So the fact that he trusted me and let me do what I wanted to do was a very key factor as well.
Yeah, I agree, brother. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to hang out. We're going to actually cut this live stream short a little bit. I was planning on going a little bit longer, but I have a client that needs me to help them out with something real quick. So I'm going to hop off and get that done for them, because, that we do what we do. That's what we
gotta do. We gotta do.
We help people out. You know what I'm saying? They want to get their message out there. We can help them a little bit. That was a horrible Italian accent. If anybody
asks questions, you just say, "Don't worry about it." Okay.
Yeah, forget about it.
Forget about it.
All right, buddy. Well, hopefully people appreciated those horrible Italian accents.
They're probably shaking their heads right now.
Yeah, they are. But all right, guys. Well, we will catch you on the flip side. Hopefully this was a little bit of fun. Haley Heilman. Holy crap. I haven't seen you in forever either. I think we played in high school band together. That's a name I haven't seen pop up in my timeline for a minute. Anyway. All right. We will talk later, Mr. Michael Pettit.
Sir, I will see you soon. I'm going to go finish my ice cream.
All right. Have a good rest of your night.
Hey, you too.